Ines, we've known each other a long time. I first knew you when you were a graduate student in the Midwest. And I'm just thrilled that finally, instead of my being your guest in Indonesia, you are my guest here at Stanford. And I wanted to take this opportunity to ask you some questions about Indonesia. One of the things that is the most striking, perhaps, to anyone looking at Indonesia is its incredible diversity. Hundreds of ethnic groups, different languages, all the major world religions are represented in Indonesia, ecological differences, economic differences, and yet it's a democracy. And since 1998, one hopes that will continue, it has been a democracy, despite having had very little historical experience of democracy. So what's the secret to your success?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you. I really enjoyed being at Stanford here. Now, with regard to democracy in Indonesia, yes, it started in '98, and it has been years since then. But the foundations of that democracy was built long before '98. You mentioned this earlier about the extreme diversity. Democracy requires some common ground to glue these nations together.
Right.
Otherwise, it won't function.
Right.
Now, Indonesia had its independence in 1945. However, the spirit of being one nation in this archipelago was agreed upon 17 years before the independence. And there was a language was adopted there as common language. And this is very democratic in a way. Why? Because the language that was chosen as common language was not the language of the majority. It was the lingua franca of the archipelago, adopted as the national language. And I think it helps to create the feeling that this is one nation. And on top of that, right after independence, democracy requires equality. Right after independence, we had more than 120 small kingdoms and sultanates. And Indonesia decided to abolish the aristocracy systems that was there and created a very egalitarian foundations that 5 decades later, when formal democracy was adopted as a system, the foundations is already there. The feeling of unity.
Let me interrupt you.
First visit to Central Java, and of course here in the city of
Is it the first time?
Yes, I only went to Yogyakarta about a few months ago. But Central Java was a little more difficult with the pandemic. I think it's getting better now with the vaccination. Regarding the education cooperation, we do not have exchange of education with your province at the moment, and Austria is very strong in education, exchange of professors, and we have a cooperation with different universities. So I was hoping maybe also your education department could send some information, see if we can continue cooperation on this level. It's the possibility of students going to Austria from the University Ligoro, I think. Could go to Austria for studies of master or doctorate degree, for example. And we have an exchange program that is always very successful. And that could be an interesting option also for your region, because it's something which we try to support. We try to continue this cooperation and expand it. We're very strong already. Honorary Consul Suki knows in Yogyakarta, very strong cooperation already. And I thought maybe we could expand also to the city.
From Central Java, we can send some of a picture, or maybe I can invite your expert from Australia to Central Java.
Come here and develop
something like training for trainers.
Yes, exactly.
Which is the best one?
The best one, what we do first, is normally that they come here and they build up the vocational training center, teach them, and after that, there's the exchange possible. First, they build it up here to improve the quality of the workforce and the quality of education.
Okay. Maybe my staff can follow
Yes.
your staff.
Yes.
And then we can decide about the technical trainers, for the teacher and some of student. And then after this, we can send some of student or teacher to Australia. And then we come back and develop a new system, I think, for the some of school in Central Java.
Yep.
So I want to learn from their experiences in Australia about the relation between the school and industry.
Exactly.
I hear
Yes.
from Australia and
Yeah.
German that you have what you call
We call it a dual education system.
dual education system, and you have something like a teaching industry, something like this.
Yes, we combine 15, 16-year-old teenagers who learn, for example, mechanics, for example. At the same time, they are also educated for graduation, and they can continue university studies. And the industry is, of course, very interested in the skill of mechanics, for example, or technology, or IT, whatever it is. And that's why the industry supports the school. These people who finish the school are then asked by the industry, of course, to work again in the same industry.
Okay.
So we start very early with this dual education system, not only one track, but it's two track. So it's a very good combination.